I oversee a number of different areas. One is the community voter outreach, which generally oversees these types of presentations and educating the public. I also oversee our community relations and our legislation section. So I wear a few different hats. If you have any questions about anything around the elections, we'll have some Q&A at the end, and happy to get into that. But at this time, let me go ahead and bring up my PowerPoint, and we can go ahead and get started. Okay. Right. Can you see the PowerPoint? Good, good. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, just never know with the virtual presentation. Okay, great. So first thing I want to share is a little bit of a timeline overview. The green check marks are where we've already gone, and a little bit of a preview of what's coming up in terms of the timeline and rollout of the election. As a lot of people here are probably aware, we had a very short amount of time in order to put this election together, as is the case with every county. It's one of the challenges with unusual elections that aren't normally scheduled, and the recall is probably one of the most unusual elections that we've had to put together that I can think of in my time at the registrar's office. In July, we had our candidate filing period and certified that list of candidates. We sent out our overseas ballot, which is the UOCAVA ballots. That's for overseas voters and military voters. And then August 16th, actually our vote by mail ballots went out just a few days before August 16th. That was really the target date, but we were a little bit ahead of schedule, which is always good to get the vote by mail ballots out. So everyone should have received their vote by mail ballot at this time. If you haven't, I would recommend at the beginning of next week, you can contact our office, or you can go on our website and request a replacement vote by mail ballot. I'll talk about how to do that a little bit later in the presentation. Also, we now have early voting open at our headquarters in Norwalk. You can come and vote in person there if you choose to. In this election, you have the option to vote by mail or vote in person. The rest of our vote centers will open in September, and I'll talk about that also later in the presentation. We also have our vote by mail drop boxes open around LA County. Feel free to drop your ballot in there once you've completed it. If you choose not to, send it back by mail. Those drop boxes have been very popular. In November, more than half of the voters that did vote by mail used our vote by mail drop boxes. So we were very excited about that program and how people have embraced that program. Coming up, the next big milestone is August 30th, and that is the close of voter registration. Anyone who is registered by August 30th will get a vote by mail ballot sent to them. If you miss the August 30th deadline to register to vote, you can still participate in the election. It's not a problem, but you do have to go in person to a vote center and utilize conditional voter registration. It still allows you to vote, still allows you to participate. The only difference is with conditional voter registration, we don't send you a vote by mail ballot. You would just vote in person at a vote center. Then on September 4th is when our vote centers will open. Those will be our 11-day vote centers. And on September 11th, the remainder of our vote centers will open, and those will be 4-day vote centers. And then, of course, as everyone is aware, the election is September 14th. As we move into October, we will finalize the canvass and the post-election auditing and all those different activities that we normally do after every election. That will continue right after the election. That will start right after the election ends and continue all the way through October 14th. And on October 22nd, the Secretary of State will certify the election. Okay, so this is a little bit different style of election than most people are used to. The last time we had a statewide recall election, it was 2003. And many people don't remember. I don't really remember too many specifics about that, other than there were a lot of candidates on the ballot. So for the recall, there's 2 questions on the ballot. That's just only 2 questions. The first question is framed in a yes or no, and it says, shall Gavin Newsom be recalled or removed from the office of governor? And then question 2 it says candidates to succeed Gavin Newsom as governor if he is recalled. And then there's a list of 46 candidates, and you have the option, regardless of whether you vote yes or no, you have the option to select one of those candidates. So a lot of people ask, well, if I don't want him recalled, what's the point in voting? You can still vote no on the recall, but you can select a candidate in the event that the governor is recalled. For the first question, it's basically a 50% vote. Whichever yes or no gets 50% will take place. So if yes gets more than 50% of the vote, then the governor will be recalled, and the candidate who gets the most number of votes in question 2 will be the candidate that succeeds the governor. So question 2 is not a 50% vote, it's just whoever gets the most number of votes. If question 1 is more than 50% no, then question 2 will not go into effect because the governor will not be recalled. So it's just these 2 questions. I know there's some confusion just because people are not used to it. You can vote for both the questions. You can vote for one of the questions. That's really up to the voter. Okay, on voter services. All ballots will be accepted by our office up to 7 days after the election. Normally it's 3 days, and in most elections there was a little bit of a change in 2020, but the current law is 3 days after the election. However, the legislature has decided to allow a little bit more time. So as long as it's postmarked by election day, you have 7 days in which to send in for us to receive your ballot. As mentioned, there are vote centers opening beginning September 4th. We have 253 vote centers around LA County. We have 108 11-day vote centers and 145 4-day vote centers. And again, those 4-day open on September 11th. One thing to note about the number of vote centers, a lot of people may ask, well, why are there so few vote centers compared to the November election where we had about 700? The answer for that is that this election, it's a little bit of an unusually structured election. The way the legislature has written the law, it based the total number of vote centers on what would normally be used in a special election. However, the duration, the 11 days and the 4 days, that's based on what we would normally do in a regular election. So it's probably a little bit of a hybrid of a regular and a special election. It's very unusual. Again, I know I keep saying that, but we want to just note that so people don't worry that why do we have a lot fewer vote centers. The total number of vote centers, the minimum for LA County is about 190 or so, but we decided to go above and beyond just the bare minimum because in LA County we always try to do that. As we know, the county of our size really need to do more than just the bare minimum. So 253 total vote centers. You can vote at any one of those, or you can use your vote by mail ballot. If you choose to vote in person, you can just discard your vote by mail ballot. You don't have to bring it with you or anything like that. Okay, moving on to the hours, just like we had in November, and this is probably going to be consistent as we move forward for every election, but the early voting period, September 4th to the 13th, the hours will be 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Election day will be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and that's traditional, and that will always be the case for our elections. Okay, we have 400 vote by mail drop boxes. As mentioned, you can use any one of those to drop off your ballot. They're all over LA County. Feel free. Very secure, very safe, and we really want to encourage everyone to consider that maybe as your first voting option, although we don't want to dissuade anyone if you choose to vote in person. But it is contactless, and so in times of the pandemic and COVID, we always encourage least amount of contact, but really it is the voter's option. And also, last point here, we have RAVBM, or remote accessible vote by mail, and any voter may use that option. Normally, this is reserved for voters with disabilities, but for this election, the legislature has allowed any voter to utilize it. You can go on our website. Essentially, you complete your ballot on our website, you print it out, there's an affidavit you sign, and then you mail it to us. It'll walk you through it on our website. But if you have your vote by mail ballot, that's always preferable. This is for anyone who needs this service and is not able to use their vote by mail ballot. Okay, and there's vote by mail resources that I want to go over, just the different options for returning your ballot. One is USPS, it is postage paid, so you may mail it back. You can also use the drop box as mentioned. And also beginning September 4th, you can walk in your vote by mail ballot into a vote center. So any of these options are available for voters to use. We recommend subscribing to Where's My Ballot. It's at california.ballottracks.net. A lot of voters utilize this service. It's been very popular. People have appreciated the update. Anytime your ballot goes through a different point in the process, Ballot Tracks will send that voter a notification. So when we mail out ballots, when we receive the ballot, if there's any after action, let's say the signature doesn't match and we have to send a letter out, it'll notify the voter that a letter has been sent out. So it's a very useful resource. Seems like people have been pretty happy with that. And then also you can request a vote by mail ballot, a replacement vote by mail ballot, or a multilingual ballot. And you can also get a vote by mail ballot sent to a temporary mailing address. I did add that third bullet point just because it's the summer. A lot of people travel in the summer, not used to having an election in the summer. So if you are going to be vacationing or traveling and you want your ballot to go somewhere else, you can go ahead and request that. This is a screenshot of our vote by mail page. Go to levote.net. There's a lot of resources, not just vote by mail, but also in-person voting and so forth. Also on the right, you will see all the different languages that we provide services in, quite a few. If you would like your ballot in any of these languages and you don't normally receive it, you can also request that at our website. Okay, great. Okay, so I have a quick video here. This shows how our ballot marking device works. This video is based on a normal election where there's multiple contests. So you'll see the person voting a variety of different ways. But I'll go ahead and narrate the video as we go through it. Okay, there's some background music, but I'll just go ahead and narrate it. Okay, so it is still a paper-based ballot. You receive your ballot when you check in, and then you go over to a ballot marking device and you will insert your ballot. You'll choose your language. And then you'll start making your selections. You'll navigate through the ballot, make your selections, and use next to go to the next contest. The more button is available. If there's more contests than appear on a screen, you have to press the more button to scroll down. So on question 2, because there's 46 candidates, someone might be scrolling for quite a bit. And then you have an option on the review screen to just double check that you did select the choices that you intended to. And if you didn't, you can go back and make that change. And then you're going to print. You get another option to review your ballot on the paper itself. And assuming it's okay, you would go ahead and cast it. If there's an issue with it, you can take it back to the check-in table and they'll give you a new ballot. But looks like it's okay here. They're going to cast it. There's a ballot box attached to the back of the ballot marking device. And that's pretty much it. Everything is tallied directly off the paper. This is not electronic voting. And how do I make this here? Oops, don't want that. There we go. Okay, so the next video I'm going to show is our interactive sample ballot. If you've used this, you're probably familiar with it. A lot of voters used it. They really like the service. Allows you to really take care of all your selections and everything even before you arrive at a vote center. One big change for this election is we did install a search feature on the interactive sample ballot, so you can type in the name of the candidate that you're looking for, and it'll find that person, and then you can make that selection, so you don't have to do all the scrolling. Since again we have 46 candidates, so this has a narration, so I'll let it go. Hopefully you can hear it. If not, there's subtitles.
Hey, Los Angeles, we know your time is valuable, so the county has made it even easier for you to vote in person in a quick and accessible manner. In 2020, all registered voters will be able to use the new interactive sample ballot. With the interactive sample ballot, you can review all your candidates and measures and pre-select who you'd like to vote for before going to the vote center. It's simple. You just input your name, address, and zip code, go through your selections, and once you've finished, you'll have your poll pass. The poll pass is a QR code that you can print or download to your device to take with you to the vote center. Once at the vote center, just scan it into a ballot marking device. Review your selections and cast your ballot. Voting just got a lot easier. Learn more about the interactive sample ballot at vsap.lavote.net.
All right. There we go. Okay, and just a couple other slides here. For this election, we have our safe election plan. This is very similar to what we rolled out in November. Masks will be required for both election workers and voters. We are adhering to public health requirements, so if there's any changes as we get close to the election, we will obviously make those adjustments for our vote centers. But at this time, and we don't expect it to change because voting is indoors, all voters will be required to wear their masks inside. Also, we will have a stop station with PPE available as you enter. That includes masks if someone forgot to bring their mask with them, hand sanitizer, other equipment that we use to make sure everything is safe and a healthy environment. We will also be sanitizing equipment and wiping surfaces down throughout the day. This includes after someone uses the ballot marking device, we'll wipe it down. After someone signs the poll book, we'll also wipe that down. All of that is part of our training. And then physical distancing or social distancing is encouraged in the check-in lines, and it'll be required in the voting area. Well, it's actually more than encouraged, it's required. And we place the ballot marking devices 6 feet apart. That's part of our setup. We will also just make sure everyone is spaced out and being respectful of the social distancing requirements. And then lastly, we have a toolkit, and I wanted to mention it to this group. This is something you can go on, and anyone can use this if you have an organization, or this organization, if you haven't already looked at it, you'd like to use some of those resources. It's in multiple languages. Again, that's at toolkit.lavote.net. Has all kinds of information, pre-made Facebook, Instagram, Twitter posts that you can download and just post, so you don't have to create anything on your own. Or there's some you could borrow the wording. If you have your own graphics you want to use, you can take the wording that we have on our information and use that. There's also FAQs and other information. So really encourage everyone to take a look at the toolkit. Very useful. I posted it in just on a personal level. My daughter goes to LA Unified Schools. I'm in a Facebook group with lots of parents. I decided to post a toolkit there for people who are interested. So very useful. You can use it in a lot of different places. Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and stop the PowerPoint, and then we can do questions.
Thank you so much for all of that. We have a few questions that have started.
Sure.
I'll start. There's a couple in the chat and then a couple in the Q&A. So we'll start with the ones in the Q&A.
Okay.
And the first one is, why don't we get the names of qualified write-in candidates until 11 days before the election? And what makes someone a qualified write-in candidate?
That's a great question. So I can answer the first one, and the second one I'll have to find out. But the law determines when that list of qualified write-in candidates is made available. So we only really go by what the state and the election code set forth. In terms of who decided that, I don't know the specifics. I do know the purpose of qualified write-in candidates is for anyone who missed the filing deadline. And so let's say last minute you decided you wanted to run, but you didn't get in time to file, just like any other candidate. The intention is to allow a method where someone can do that sort of as a last minute. The timing is a little all out of whack with the recall, so I'd have to see how that matches up, but that's why it feels like it's pretty late into the process in terms of just write-ins in general. How someone becomes an official write-in candidate, I'll have to look and I can get back to you. There's probably something on our website if you are curious about it, if you look under candidate filing and that sort of thing. But Rachel, maybe I can get that information and send that to you and answer that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
This next question is why leave number 2 blank? So I think this kind of refers to, there's been some suggestion from some campaigns that is asking people to leave number 2 blank, and I think this is asking for insight about that.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's really a strategy or a personal preference. So we encourage everyone to complete the ballot to the full extent and vote as they desire. But people do have the right to leave something blank if they want to. For the reasons, you'd have to talk to the campaigns or the people promoting that message. I can't really get into that or speculate.
Thank you. Next, where will we be able to get the names of the qualified write-in candidates?
I believe it's September 1st, but let me find out when that's available. But I believe, if I remember correctly, it's September 1st, which is when the write-in list is out. But I'll have to go ahead and double check that.
Okay, so, and this question was, where will that information be available?
So every vote center will have the list of qualified write-in candidates as part of the setup and what they place on the official tables. And then also it'll be available on our website as well. So okay, I'll make sure you have all that info.
Okay, and that's lavote.net?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And let's see. Okay, this one was a little long, but here, let me read that. There has been suggestion that that the recall process is illegal if the person elected receives fewer votes than the governor did when elected in the regular election. What happens if a lawsuit is filed before the recall election, which I believe there are at least 2 lawsuits right now? Will the election continue to completion or be stopped? If the election is completed prior to the legal decision, will the results be released before the court decision about the legality of the recall process?
So all of those are really good questions. We administer the election based on what the current California election code is. And as it stands now, the recall process is outlined and detailed in the election code. If a court decides they want to step in and make changes, mandates, and so forth, then we will address those accordingly. It's something that the lawsuit is between the state and the party that filed the lawsuit, so not the counties themselves. And so the state will also do the same thing. They will make changes as instructed by the law based on outcomes related to the court case. So at this time, all we can do is administer the election based on what it says, and then we'll see what happens in terms of the legal process. The certification is not complete until October 24th. So all of that legal process will be playing out while the election is moving forward.
Thank you. And then this was asking the name of the website. So I believe we went over that, right? It's lavote.net.
Correct. Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And we will we'll provide that information. I think we can type it into the chat, and then
sure.
So
yeah, one thing I want to mention, and it did have it on my PowerPoint. I'll go ahead and type it in here. I didn't call it out specifically, and I wanted to make sure everyone knew. For finding a drop box near you or a vote center near you, there is a locator tool for both on our website. So if you go to lavote.net and you look under the different voting options, for example, if you want to find the drop box tool, you'll go to the page where vote by mail information is listed. And if you want to find a vote center, you'll go to the page where the vote center in-person voting is discussed. And so you can type in an address, you can type in a city. You might want to vote near your work or find a drop box near a relative's house. Or, the great thing about our voting system is you can vote anywhere in LA County. So you may want to go, this entire group here, maybe you all live in different areas. You could all go vote together at the same location if that's something you want to do, or everyone drives to the same drop box, however you want to work it.
All right.
And I'll put my contact info here too.
Thank you.
Sure.
How different is the LACO, so the LA County process, from other counties?
Well, our voting system is different. the recall itself is governed by the election code, but in terms of whether or not everyone gets a vote by mail ballot, well, actually, that for this election, the legislature has instructed all counties to send vote by mail ballots. But under normal circumstances where they don't modify the law, sometimes counties do send vote by mail ballots to all voters, and sometimes they don't. But for the recall, at least throughout the state, everyone will get a vote by mail ballot. But in terms of the ballot marking device, the in-person voting experience, ours is different than other counties because we have a unique voting system. So it really kind of depends on which portion of the election process we're talking about. The fundamentals, the 2 questions, and how the recall works, that will be the same and is throughout the state.
Thank you.
Hopefully I answered that. If not, I can clarify.
Well, I do understand. I mean, there's a lot of counties in California, so I think it would probably be fairly difficult to really go into like the difference in every single county.
Yeah, every county has they decide what kind of voting system they want to use. That's where the biggest differences come into play.
So one of our attendees says that she understands the election will cost taxpayers approximately $275 million. She believes that special interests misuse the recall privilege and that it should be reformed. I think this might be for me. Jan, I think as far as league efforts to address this, I'll have to look into it, though I share your concern that I think that the recall system is, I share that I think it's being misused, though I am not aware if the League of Women Voters of California or any local league it has any position in relation to this. And of course, we don't take any action on things unless we have stated positions. So I don't know if there's anything in any of our either state positions or county or local that would address this. So that is something that I can explore and get back to you about. There's a lot of confusion about write-in votes. Please confirm that a write-in vote for a candidate who is not on the qualified candidate list will not nullify the voters' vote on question 1.
Yeah, so the 2 questions are independent of each other. So even if you vote for a candidate, you write in a candidate that's not eligible to be a write-in on question 2, it won't negate how you vote on question 1. One thing I also want to note, because this is probably the #1 question around write-ins that comes up, so I don't know if this was implied in the question that I was asked, but a lot of people say, well, why can't I just write in Gavin Newsom? That is would not be a qualified write-in candidate.
If the vote to recall is successful, will the change not take place until the election has been certified?
That's correct. Nothing takes place until the election is certified.
Then if I have moved to Texas but have not changed my voter registration to my new state, can I legally request a mail ballot to Texas and vote in the recall? This is being circulated on Facebook as a legal way to vote in California, even though I am no longer a resident.
Right. So by law, you're supposed to be registered at the address that you are that you consider your residence. Now, people have multiple houses and multiple places, which is sometimes where you see, people have, they might have it's up for discretion on what they consider their residence. By California law, you're technically supposed to be a California resident to be eligible to vote here, and we don't really have a residency requirement such as you have to be here X number of days. As long as you are a resident that day that you register to vote, then you are able to legally vote. So if you're no longer living in California and your residence is now in Texas, technically you should be registering to vote in Texas as a resident of that state. If you maintain residences in both states, then you can still maintain a California residence, but have your mail sent to Texas. You can't be registered in both states, but again, if you do maintain a residence in California, then that you can do that.
Thank you. And next, will the Lieutenant Governor be listed as a qualified write-in candidate, as she is not shown as candidate on the ballot?
I haven't seen the final list of the qualified write-in candidates, so I do not know.
All right, that is all the current questions that we have. Are there any further questions? Is anybody typing away? Or I'll give you a last moment if anybody wants to, let me see, does anybody have their?
I also put my phone number and email in the chat. If anyone thinks of a question afterwards or would like a presentation like this for any other organizations, please feel free to reach out. Happy to arrange something or answer any questions that I can. I also, part of my responsibilities at the Registrar is overseeing our election observation programs. We do have a poll monitor orientation on September 4th. If you are interested in attending that, it's a virtual presentation, and it just, if you're going to be an observer in the field, it goes over the pros and cons, well, the do's and don'ts and best practices of being in the field, and that if you plan to be active in these issues you come across and you want to report those to us, it goes over all of that information. So that is September 4th. It's going to be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. But email me and let me know that you'd be interested in attending, and we'll go ahead and send you, make sure you get on that invite list. But anyone, you don't have to attend the orientation to observe. We just do it as a courtesy to help people out so they know what's going on. And also my team also handles all of the public observation at our different facilities. So if you want more information about that, such as our vote by mail facility out in Pomona, or our tally facility in Downey, or our headquarters where we do some post-election activities, please contact me, and you know, I can give you more details. I see Catherine Cap is interested. Great, yeah, email me please, Catherine, and we can do that.
Yeah, we do have just a couple more questions. Sure. That came in. So do we expect the election to be called quickly?
You know, it's a great question. We're a little bit in uncharted territory, so I don't know. I always hate to, well, quickly for me is probably different than quickly for most people. So if I can get out by 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. on election night, that's a pretty quick night. You know, it's hard to predict. A lot of it also depends on how much turnout there is on election day. You know, more people who turn out to vote, takes a little bit longer for us to close down, which is a chain reaction, because then it takes longer for the election workers to get the ballots down to our facility, and there's a whole bunch of there's a ripple effect, which is fine. You know, we prefer the integrity of the election over expediency. We'd rather have it done right than you know, rush through everything. And then I see a question about, do we need election workers? I encourage everyone to sign up. They have gotten a lot of interest in election workers. I would go to our website, lavote.net. There's an online form that you can sign up, gets you in our system. Even if they can't use you, they might be a reservist, which is someone who would be on call in case there's no one shows up, or at least gets you in our system, and for future elections we could use you if they can't use you now. Because of the smaller number of vote centers, we don't need as many people as we have in the past, but I never like to tell someone no, so I just encourage everyone to sign up.
And then another question, how many ballots have been received to date?
I don't have the number. I do know it was asked in another meeting, and the person who oversees that process did say we've already received a higher than anticipated number of vote by mail ballots basically at the stage that we're at in this election. What that specific number is, I haven't seen it yet. They usually start up daily notices to me in the next week or so. But we are getting ballots in, so that is good and encouraging.
I had a quick question. In Claremont, at our local post office, there are drive-through post office boxes, and they are locked right now.
Okay.
Because of somebody I know had went to investigate it, and they said they were locked because of fear of ballot tampering.
They should all be open. So let me check into it. Do you know? Sorry, what was the location? Claremont.
The Claremont Post Office, which is on the corner of Harvard and 2nd Street.
Let me look up something really quick. Post office.
They're not ballot boxes. They are post office boxes.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. I'll let them know to communicate that to the post office. I don't know specific. I can't speak for the post office, so I don't really know any more than that. But I'll definitely communicate that. So, great. I just posted my contact info again, and then I think that's Jennifer. I just sent it to you directly. All right.
All right. Well, I would just thank you so much for your time here today. We really appreciated all of this information. We will be posting this to our YouTube. So for anybody that views this in the future, thank you for your time here. I encourage everybody as well to visit our new League of Women Voters website, where we will also have lots of information. And I hope that everybody has their ballots in and gets everybody that they know to vote in this very important election. And thank you all for your time on this Sunday.
All right, thank you. And then Rachel, I'll follow up with you on the questions around the write-ins.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.